Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to me, to Cole 99, and today I will present you with a brand new fan fiction written by Wardof Winters QoLife from AO3. It is a Percy Jackson fan fiction called ATLOP Trial by Fire. The summary goes as follows. Percy was having a normal day at the beach until he decided to try to waterbend like Katara from his favorite show. Problem is, he succeeds. Now he has to figure out how to waterbend and keep the normal people from finding out they have a waterbender in their midst. Finding out he's actually a child of Poseidon will probably explain a few things. Used to be named Avatar: The Legend of Percy. I hope you enjoy this series of fan fictions I was allowed to read, and I really need to thank Wardof Winters so much for allowing me to read this fan fiction, and I'm really excited to show you this wonderful work. Just go to the link in the description and give them all the kudos and read it. It's so good. Until then, I will no longer let you wait, as we start with ATLOP Trial by Fire. Chapter 1 The Boy in the Ocean. Perseus Jackson's fate shifted when he was a mere 8 years old. The cause was simple, far simpler than fate-rending cause ought to be. The catalyst was a television show, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Truly it could be viewed as strange that something as simple as a mere TV show could change a person's fate, but it did. For without this show, Perseus Jackson would have lived a far different life. The boy, Percy, had stumbled upon the show by a chance when his stepfather was out the day. It had him hooked from the start. A world of powers, where children wanting adventure, a boy with a scar who was tossed aside by his father, a girl who loved water, a boy who was so happy and kind. Yes, for Perseus Jackson, this show was truly remarkable. It was a show that captured his attention and shaped his life. He adored Aang, the main character who could control all of the elements: air, water, earth, and fire. He loved Sokka, with no powers, but a quick wit and a skill with weapons. He was in awe of Toph, who was firm and determined and turned her disability into her greatest strength. He found delight in Suki, who wielded her fans fiercely and was herself through all the danger. And then there was one he loved the most, his favorite character, Katara. Katara was the big sister, the one who protected all the others. She was kind, but she was fierce. She fought against all those that harmed her friends and used her powers to do good. And she did so much good. Perseus was in awe of her, a figure that could raise the sea, stop the rain, command the tsunami, wield daggers of ice, or even heal with water. He could turn water into blades, form bridges of woven ice, control vines, and so much more. Perseus looked into her in awe. She was truly remarkable. And after this fateful, fate-shaping day, she became his role model as well. Today, Percy was at the beach, Montauk. His mom has brought him, just the two of them. There was no Gabe to ruin the day, just him and his mom having fun at the beach. He hadn't been in a few years, and he was delighted to be back. It was a lovely day to be at the beach, with a shining sun and warm breeze. The water was perfect, though it always was for Percy. He'd made a lovely sand castle. His mom helped him decorate it, and now that it was done, his mom was working on dinner. He was playing in the waves. He didn't mind being alone. There were plenty of games he could play on his own, like waterbending. He liked to pretend he was Katara at home, but didn't really have the water to do it. Bath time was to clean, Mom always said. But the ocean wasn't to clean. It was to play, and he wanted to be a waterbender, like Katara. He'd seen the finale today, and it was incredible. Katara had just frozen Azula, tricked her into getting over the water and froze her, and used that breathing trick. One from Aang. He loved the way they could also use each other's tricks and tied her up. She made it look so easy. He waved his hand over the water, grinning as the waves rocked. He wanted to be like her. He wished so much he was like her, being able to control the waves, to freeze water, to know that as long as there was water, he would be safe. He swung his arm out, imagining the way the ocean would sweep and ripple into a wave, just like it did for Katara, curling and crashing, the ocean obeying his command. And then it did. He bit back a scream, gaping at the water that had returned to lapping gently at his feet. Had he imagined it? The ocean actually listening? Percy tried again, pushing forward this time, like that first move Katara learned. Nothing happened. He bit his lip, staring at the water. Maybe he'd imagined it. He tried again, eyes narrow as he pushed. He commanded the ocean in his mind, imagining it flowing back and holding there, pressure building as it pushes back, and there was a small swell in front of him. His breath caught, eyes widening. That wasn't normal. That was the water crashed into him, making him yelp, almost knocking him over. He steadied himself, a slow grin stretching across his lips. He hadn't imagined it. Did that mean could he be He needed more. He needed to see, needed to test. What did Katara do when she was learning bending? There was the push and pull thing. He'd sort of done that, so do it more? He thought back to the waterbending scroll episode, remembering what she said. Push and pull the water in and out. His heart was pounding, his hands shaking, but he did his best to mimic what he remembered. His feet were spread, turning slightly to the side. He raised his hands, bit his lip, and pushed. He focused on the water, willing it to move back, and when he pulled, he willed it to come in, to curl and raise and spiral back and forward. He couldn't help the gasp when it did. He grinned, bouncing. It did it! It listened to him. He did it! He whooped, spinning happily, then turned back to the water to make it go back out, only to realize he'd stopped doing the movements, so the water had stopped moving. He quickly picked it up again, vibrating as he pushed out, pulled in, then pushed, pulled. The water followed his movements. His cheeks hurt from grinning, and he was resisting the urge to squeal. He was a waterbender. This was the best day of his life. He had the first step down, and there were others, though. Percy was going to master them all. So next was... He thought for a long moment, remembering what Katara had done. First push and pull the water, a big hump. Then it was all thin and spinny. He nodded. He called it streaming. It was streaming the water. It was pulled in a thin bit and then made into a ball. Then she made it into other shapes, he thought. He could do that. He definitely could. So he focused on the water once more. He raised his hands carefully, pulling at the water and willing it up. He chewed his lips and pulled high, and the water seemed to reach up just a little. He wanted to stop to cheer, but he didn't want it to stop, so he kept pulling, standing on his tippy toes. It wasn't much, but it was a stream, albeit a shaky one. He narrowed his eyes and pulled it to him, separating it from the ocean and calling it to his arms. A thrill went through him when he had the ball of water in his hands. He couldn't resist a cheer that time. He did it. The water fell as his attention shifted, and he pouted. But he'd already proven to himself he could do this. It wasn't his imagination. He was going to do it. Time passed quickly for him as he continued his practice. He spent ages pulling the water up and up from the ocean, then spinning it and making a ball. It took so many tries he lost count forever ago. But eventually he managed to keep a steady ball that didn't fall away the moment he grinned. He tried making a new shape, a square, or was it a cube? He couldn't remember. It was square-ish, though, and he tried a star next, with points. It was kinda working, but was very mushy. He tried to make it tighter, sharp points. He wanted it to be sharp and neat. Percy! He blinked, his attention gone as his mom called for him. Then he realized he could show his mom his water bending. Mom! He yelled, racing towards her with a big grin. Mom! 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 She raised an eyebrow, holding paper plates with hot dogs. He wondered why dinner took so long for just a moment, then decided that was not important. Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? She laughed, ruffling his hair. What? Guess! She hummed. You're hungry? He giggled as she booped his nose, but shook his head. Nope. His stomach growled and he pouted. Okay, yes, but that's not it. What is it then? He bounced, grin wide. I'm a waterbender. She grinned. Are you? Yeah, come see, look. He dragged her to the water, ignoring her giggles at his excitement. She'd see. Okay, Percy, she said, stopping just short of the lapping waves. So why don't you show me the waterbending? He let go of her hand, eagerly hopping closer to the water, and raised his hands. He focused hard, determined to show her his new power. He raised his hands up slowly and willed the water to rise as he did. In a shaky but steady movement, a line of water spiraled up and then towards him, and when he pulled his hands in, his tongue poked out as he carefully shaped a wobbly star, then beamed at his success. See, Mom? He turned to her with a wide grin, but faltered at how pale she looked. Her hands were shaking. Mom? She stared at the water in his hands, the water that dropped with a splash as he turned his focus away from it, with wide eyes and a pale face. Mom, what's wrong? She swallowed, focusing on him, eyes burning. How did you do that? He blinked, confused and a little scared. I copied Katara. I'm a waterbender. She let out a shaky breath that made him tremble. Mom? She gently grabbed Percy's hand and the food dropped to the ground. Percy, I need you to promise me something, okay? He nodded quickly, not liking the fear on her face. I need you to promise me you will never do this in front of anyone else. He blinked, frowning now. But why? It's not safe, Percy, she said. You have to promise me. He didn't want to promise that. He didn't want to not waterbend, to not do it in front of anyone. Katara had to hide it to be safe, but she showed it quickly too. There was a warden, but there wasn't one now. He didn't understand. His lips curled into a frown. His mom was scared though. Maybe there was something going on. He didn't think so, but Mom was so scared and serious and he didn't want to upset her. Okay, Mom, I promise. He relaxed a bit as she let out a breath, relief on her face. Okay, let's go eat some dinner, okay? He nodded, taking her hand. Can I still practice more waterbending, though? She grimaced, her eyes lingering on him, filled with worry. Yeah, as long as you always make sure no one sees you. He beamed. At least he wasn't being forced to stop altogether. He might not like hiding it, but he was still a waterbender. This was going to be amazing. That was the first chapter of Trial by Fire for the Avatar The Last Olympian, I would guess. If it's not, I apologize. But yeah, chapters will be a little shorter for this fic. Normally I have very long fics with long chapters, but I really like this. It's easier on the throat, to be honest, and I'm really excited of where to go. Again, thank you very much, Wardof Winters, for allowing me to read this. Go join their Discord. You will have the link in the description. They have so many fun things, and they also have a Tumblr. Please check it out. Leave all the kudos, leave them all the love you can. They are an amazing writer. And we will see each other next time. Take care, everyone, my lovelies. And make sure you drink, eat, anything. Just take care of yourself. You deserve to be treated kindly, even by yourself. Until then, love you platonically. Until next time.